telling people that the board is also opposed to the sheriff's office substation. I don't even know where that comes from, but somebody brought it to his attention. And as far as I know, it couldn't be farther from the truth. A lot of rumors go around this town, I guess.
Yeah, I would say, obviously this is a topic that would have serious ramifications regardless of what an outcome was. This is a discussion point, not an action item. It's really for fact finding. It's really not targeted at any one element of the district, fire or water or wastewater lighting. It's really just informational. I don't know that I would support investing in the district. I don't think that there's controls in place that really would benefit the community members that is provided by the county. I think that having some voice in controlling the direction of how we are managed as a community is important. I don't know that the county necessarily has the same level of interest, being that we are the furthest community in the northern part of the county. But in any case, this is all strictly informational, and I think that the points made by staff are fairly valid, and anyway, I appreciate the information.
Hearing this, for me, when it was said at the last meeting, I just thought it was I couldn't even fathom listening to this, and then hearing it getting brought up again, and the whole time I'm sitting there thinking, I'm going, I like to have my control within people that I'm around. I live here. The whole reason for me joining this board is because I wanted to keep it local. I moved here with my family. It's going on 7 or 8 years ago, and doing everything I can to be a part of this community. I would never ever vote on something to be given to the county and having the county try to take over. Anytime I've ever had any contact with the county, it's, I asked for something simple. Come clean the streets when we first moved here to San Miguel. Construction going on, filthy. Oh yeah, we'll get somebody there. I went around to each house and I said, hey, everybody, move your cars out of the street. The county said they're gonna send somebody over. Well, that was 5 years ago and they've never come, so, one day maybe, but anyways, yeah, thank you.
Any final comments?
Well, just one more thing about the county. I've been trying to get Rios Caledonia cleaned up down there. When you go through there on the old 101, and then there's a back fence, and you'll see some old trees toppled over. The county dumps their cement, the road rubble, everything back there. They've been doing it for years. And I've contacted the county twice. They said they would send somebody down here, and that was 2 years ago. Never has happened. And then when I called again, they said, well, we've got a limited budget and you're at that end of the county, so you're the last who get it. I don't understand that kind of thinking, but it does need to be cleaned up. So if you're depending on the county, I don't think you can depend on it.
Thank you.
So if there's no direction from the board, then we can move on to the next item. This is an informational item, so if there's no direction for a future meeting, then there's no.
I have no direction.
No direct. No good.
Okay. Well, thank you. Item number 10, discussion of possible action regarding the 0.65 million gallon main water tank access road improvements.
This item is to discuss whether or not the board wants to proceed with acceptance of fill dirt and a project to fill in a portion of the access road for the 0.65 million gallon main water tank on the west side of Highway 101. The road was originally put in when they put in the in-ground tank, which has since been decommissioned. It was actually supposed to be repaired with the construction of the new water tank that exists there. However, cost overruns ate into that budget and that didn't happen. A couple meetings ago, Director Green had offered that the Caltrans work on Highway 101 was producing road grindings and fill dirt that would be available. We did contact Cal Portland, who is running that project, and that is in fact the case. They do have grindings and fill dirt for us at no cost. However, in order to proceed with the project, I need board direction to do so, given that it's quite an expensive project. I've discussed this in part with Director Green previously, but the project would be, again, to fill in a portion of the access road to the main tank where it crosses a ravine. It has a land bridge right there. The work would widen the road and would help us to have additional space to increase the road area, and in addition to correcting the drainage and protecting that section of road. Some of the things that we would have to do in order to make this project work is get a stockpile and grading permit from the county, because we wouldn't be able to immediately use the dirt. We would have to stockpile it at the wastewater treatment plant where we have space, get the grading permit, get all the geotechnical work done, get the environmental work done, get the planning work done, and go out to bid, and then we can transfer that dirt from the treatment plant to the site to be installed. Basically, the front end work and the pre and post construction work is estimated to be close to $42,000 between the permitting, the environmental work, the geotechnical work, and the planning work. In talking to a couple of contractors, the actual work to install the dirt, based on what we know right now, is somewhere between $35,000 and $50,000. One of the concerns that one of the contractors had was that a lot of times when they build those roads, they build them just straight over native dirt. They don't scrape away the organic matter. So you have a layer of fill that has to be removed. And depending on how deep that layer is, I mean, you might go down 6 inches and it'd be fine, or you might go down 10 feet and it might still not be fine. Not the end of the world. Obviously, it just takes longer to do. So, in the end, an estimate at this point for this project would be roughly $92,000 between all the pre-work and the actual construction work. The dirt would be free, and the trucking to the treatment plant would be free. The trucking from the treatment plant to that site is actually fairly minimal, only a few $1,000s. But it's all the other work that we have to do to get to that point, which drives the cost. So again, this item is the investigation into whether the fill dirt was available in the grindings was already directed by the board, but in order to move forward, I need to have some sort of formal direction from the board to move forward so that we're not incurring costs on a project that the board is not going to be in favor of.
So going this route, utilizing the fill dirt that's available, that is changing the plan for rehabbing. It seems to me that there was an estimate to do it that was like $200,000 to $300,000 before we had the fill dirt plan. Is that accurate?
So there is a plan for that entire road that does not involve bringing fill in. The same section would be cut down, I believe, a foot, maybe 2 feet. And then that in itself would widen it because it is on basically a dam. So, and those plans that were developed are basically redoing the road from 10th Street all the way to the tank gate and redoing the asphalt, putting in drainage. In this particular section, it's regrading it to provide proper drainage. And you are correct, when we developed that plan, the estimate was roughly $200,000 to do that work.
240,000, I remember.
I'll go with your remembering, I don't remember exactly, so we're gonna say it's 240,000. I believe in 2023, we looked at it again, and it was nearly 750,000.
So with this, going with this plan, this is $92,000, that eliminates the project that's $700,000?
No.
No.
So this would fix a part of the problem. That section of road is the narrowest part. For obvious reasons, they didn't make it any wider. So there are other things we can do to make it wider, such as cutting it down. Some of that would require realigning the curve that comes into it to get a straighter shot onto it. If we were able to widen it, then that would be better long term, but it's not going to fix the problem that we have with the rest of the road. And if we were to do this, then we would still have to do some sort of drainage. So you're building some sort of a curb, whether that's concrete or asphalt. Whether we pave this section or not, you would have more latitude in not paving it if you're fixing the drainage. But if you were to pave it, then that cost would be on top of the estimated $92,000.
By going this route, spending the 92 would reduce the overall cost if we were to rehab the whole road commensurately.
That would be hard to say. At this point, I would say if it did, it would be reducing it by less than the $92,000 that we were incurring.
Understood.
However, that being said, the environmental work that we would have to do for this fill section and the geo work that we have to do for this section could be applied elsewhere along the road if we needed that. So in that respect, those costs could be applied to other areas.
Okay.
But those costs are relatively minimal compared to the overall project. And again, these are all estimates, but these are all estimates based off of what we've been paying for the similar work.
If you were to cut the road down, you'd still have to get a grading permit.
So we have to get a grading permit, but we don't need environmental work, and we don't need geo work. So you're saving
Because you're not,
those costs.
because what?
You don't need
Still pushing
environmental.
material over the side.
Well, you may not have to push it over the side. So the problem with the filling it is that we have to fill it from the bottom up. We have to create a plan to key it into the bottom so that it doesn't create an erosion problem later or a slippage problem later. If we were to grade it down, we could get, the plans would be much simpler because we already have a plan for that. So getting a grading permit would be relatively easy because we're not really moving that much dirt. We could grade it down and remove that dirt and take it to the treatment plant. If we graded it and let it slough over the sides, then we're not filling at that point. So we're not needing the same level of effort to prove that we're not going to slide somewhere.
How much is a gator?
A gator? I don't know.
You could get in and out of there in a gator easily. You know.
I mean, the other option is to essentially abandon that section and buy an easement from the neighboring property and cut a road into the hillside on the other side of the ravine. And then you don't have to worry about it after that.
Is the property owner, the guy that owns the easement now, would he let you cut into the hillside anymore?
If he was getting something out of it, I'm sure he would.
He couldn't get pavement. I mean, he's been only asking for 15 years.
Well, he wants the road paved. That's his goal. I mean, if we were interested in spending $92,000 on this, we could spend $92,000 towards the ultimate goal of redoing the whole thing. And as my discussion went with Director Green previously, the laws and regulation to do this type of work is ridiculous. Whereas you used to be able to find a knowledgeable person and go do the work and maybe get it all done for $35,000. Now we have to spend all this extra time and money going after other things that really are not necessary.
But in California.
Yes. So in particular on this item, I just need direction on whether or not you want to move forward with it. Or, I can bring back other options. In regard to the material from Cal Portland, we are still going to be pursuing grindings to place on the roads at the treatment plant. Working with our engineer to verify how much fill dirt we need for that, and we'll be able to get whatever we need for that. But in that particular case, we already are having all the permits and all the environmental work, so the dirt is just basically being set there to be used, on site.
Okay.
And that doesn't require any further action from the board in that regard.
Call for consensus now.
We need public comment, but
Yeah. Is there any other board comment or questions? No. Okay. Go.
I just got one question. I mean, getting that dirt is really good. Now, you say you're gonna put it at the treatment plant?
so if we were to get it, we would have to take it when it's available from Cal Portland.
Yeah, right.
We wouldn't be able to pick and choose because they're on a schedule.
Yeah.
So the only place that we own to put it is the treatment plant.
Yeah.
The amount of dirt that we would need to fill that in is more than we can store next to the tank. So either we would have to rent property.
Both though. Store it by the tank and.
Yeah.
We could store some of
Because it's
it.
already, I mean, if you can get it there for free.
Yeah, if you got room up there, that's where,
Well, we could store some at the tank, but we can't store it indefinitely at the tank.
No, well.
So if we're not doing this project-
To use it.
Can you store it? Can you store it?
no, it's all right. I mean, I just, you said, what was it, 20,000 cubic feet? That's about 100 yards. And most of your truck and trailers haul roughly 20 yards. So,
20,000 cubic feet is closer to
200 yards.
2,000 yards.
The 2,000, ooh, more than I thought.
Well, it's whatever 20,000 divided by 27 is.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
So 1,800 yards.
yeah.
something like
Anyway, it's a lot of dirt.
that. Yeah, and which is why we can't store it all.
And I know, but I mean, it's a lot of truckloads.
Yeah, which is why,
I mean, which is good.
it's good that it was pointed out, because that's number one, free dirt and free
Yeah.
trucking.
The perfect scenario would be to get a grading permit and your Fox relocation fees paid.
Oh, I didn't include those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in the perfect world, we'd be able to get a stockpile permit and a grading permit and get all the environmental and
Yeah.
geo work done before it's available. And then as they're bringing it, we could just place it.
That's what I'd be in favor of.
And
If it doesn't work, we go to Plan B.
And if we were able to get through the county system quick enough, then we could do that.
Tell them you're helping the environment by not sending diesel trucks down to Atascadero instead of going 4 miles.
It's a Caltrans project, the county doesn't really care.
Now,
Just saying.
you say they're gonna haul it, I know the dirt's free, in Calport, haul it here,
Cal Portland,
are they gonna charge trucking?
if we were to take it, it would be free to us at our
Delivered.
destination.
Yeah.
Well, take it,
That's what I said.
put it in my yard.
20,000
You
cubic
watch
feet.
that, and
You'd be looking at the rocket shield over there.
No, I mean, that's a good deal.
Yeah, well, they have to haul it away, and they would rather bring it to us than to take it to the other side of Paso, so.
That makes sense.
Anything further?
Nope.
All right, do we have public comment on this? We do not. All right. So what's the direction, gentlemen?
Move ahead with the plan.
Say that one more time?
I should move ahead with begins.
I couldn't hear it either.
I can't
Move
hear you.
ahead with the cost that he gave us on the original plan instead of.
Oh, the original?
all these.
And Anybody else?
You said 94,000.
What do you think would be the appropriate solution?
I think that this would be a viable option if we had enough time.
Why don't we move towards that then? If that's what you feel is the best route, let's move that way, see what it brings us. If it doesn't, we'll have a lot of dirt and we'll have to go to Plan B.
Well, the problem is if we end up with a lot of dirt, then we have to do something with that dirt. And
His house.
so,
Mount Davis. We'll call it Mount Davis.
yeah, again, it'd probably get its own zip code at that point.
Be careful, we have Mount Ellison.
Yeah.
For what the projected cost is, I think that we would be better served putting that money, if we were going to use that money, put that money towards what we already had planned to do. Because, I mean, paving would be on top of this. So even if you don't pave the crossing, you would still have to pave going up the hill.
Right.
I mean, I can look into it a little bit farther and see how long it's going to take the county to do it, but the county's not really going to look at anything until we have plans. We can't have plans until we have environmental. Can't have plans until we have the geotech done.
I don't care. We got the dirt.
So you gotta move forward with the environmental and geotech no matter what. And you said that it's applicable to more than just this portion of the project.
So if we were to move forward with both of those, then they would be done for the whole project.
So I'd say we move forward with those, we get the dirt, and
Well, I
So environmental.
don't want to give up on, I don't want to give away something free like that, but nothing free is ever free.
Do you have to take all of it?
Well, we have to commit to something. So if we commit to say we want 10,000 cubic feet, then they're going to bring us that much, and it's our problem after that.
I just didn't know.
you said you could use it at the treatment plant.
So I said I was working with our engineers to determine how much we needed at the treatment
I see.
plant. We don't need that much.
Okay.
We do need some, we just don't need that much.
That's a lot of dirt.
How much can you put at the tank?
I would have to measure it out. That would be a different problem because we'd have to deal with erosion.
Yeah.
So, if it sat there over the winter, then we would have to deal with, covering it and keeping it
You
from
wouldn't need
eroding.
a permit.
We'd have to have a permit to stockpile.
Like a
it.
road, like a dirt road right down the slope.
Yeah, it'd be going the wrong way though. It'd be going right back down to the freeway.
Well, isn't that, should be the northeast corner of the treatment plant? That's real low anyway, ain't it?
Well, it's lower,
Yeah.
but it doesn't need to be raised. And by the time we figure out that this is or isn't going to work, we might have already put solar there, which is a whole nother one.
For layman people like me, how much is that dirt? I mean, like, football field?
You know that big mound of dirt that's
Yeah.
by at the lower part of the treatment plant?
I know
That's
mound.
4,000 cubic yards.
Yeah, this is what?
Oh, wow.
So that would be 5 of those. So we really would have Mount Davis with its own zip code.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised on how big that is. Okay.
That's a lot.
A lot of dirt.
I don't understand that language, so thanks.
So I can definitely look more into it and see how long it's going to take. Based on what Portland told me, they assumed roughly 6 to 9 months before they have the dirt available. I honestly don't think that the county could get through this whole thing in that amount of time, no matter how fast we were working. But if the direction of the board is to move forward with the environmental and the geotech work, I can definitely bring something back next month to move forward on that.
Fire chief has connections down there. Where? County planning department?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm like, anybody else need filter? Jeez.
Well, if we're gonna work on that kind of time schedule, then
It's getting better.
then you guys are all gonna have to take some dirt into process.
I was gonna say, everybody gets dirt. San Miguel.
At any rate, just need some sort of direction on what you want to do.
He's for sure backing on the terrace.
I think that what is the cost of the environmental and geotech?
So based on estimates that we have for other projects, soils engineering is roughly $2,000. We would also need a surveyor, which is roughly $5,000. The environmental work, depending on the level of effort, if they find that it's no impact or negative declaration, then it could be roughly $5,000. If it's something where we have to do a full EIR, it's probably closer to $15,000, or it could be even more if they find some random animal that lives there. But as I mentioned a minute ago, I did not include the kit fox fees, which probably are another couple $1,000.
We have to do these anyway.
So the kit fox fees wouldn't be required if we're just repaving or regrading the existing road. CEQA could be basically an automatic negative declaration if all we're doing is repaving and regrading in the same plane. Surveying wouldn't really be necessary if we're just repaving and redoing the road where it is. So of those fees, they could be reduced considerably if we're just going with what we had planned on doing in the first place. But that being said, environmental is one of those things where you really don't know until they go out there and look.
And if you do the grading, you don't need the filter.
If all we're doing is grading that road down, then no, we don't need a filter. And talking to one of the contractors, that was his recommendation, is to grade the hill down where we come from the higher area, come around the corner down to this lower area, grade that down a little bit. It'll widen up that section and widen up the crossing. And then by the time we get back to our gate, we're back at the right elevation.
And the cost for that again was?
He didn't give me a cost just to do that. But based on other work that we've had done recently, I would say that that's probably less, without paving, it's probably less than $10,000.
It seems like the most cost-effective solution.
So if we're not going to widen the road, like significantly widen the road there, then I would suggest that whatever project we do there incorporates a new berm and new drainage to ensure that we're not just going to throw our money away.
And that we can use a builder for?
We wouldn't need filter for that either.
All right.
We would just need the funds to build the berm and the drainage.
Understood. Okay. Direction? Gentlemen? I'd be in favor of grading. You think that that's the solution for the time being?
I mean, we could, because we haven't had enough money to actually put into fixing the road holistically, we've been sort of piecemealing replacing the berms. So the last section that needs to be replaced is that section that we're talking about right now. So if the board is interested in putting the money into it, I can get quotes to do that work and bring that back at a future meeting. Most likely it's in order to regrade it to fix the drainage and put a new berm in and pave that. We're probably looking at probably 30 to 40,000, but I could bring that back if that's the interest of the board.
I'd be interested.
You would?
Yeah, I'd be interested.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Yeah. But, you know, I've been up there a couple times. Is there any way a guy could use any of that dirt to make a bigger turnaround spot before you go to the gate, through the gate up there?
You'd have the same issue where you'd have to deal with the filling it in, so you'd still need all the same stuff we're talking about right here.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Could you utilize, sounds like you're gonna have more dirt than you need. Could you utilize some of that dirt in front of the gate, going into the tank, where you could turn around a little easier up there?
You would have to make it pretty big if you're gonna make it so you could turn around right there. So
Well, it's pretty narrow right now. I mean, I can turn around, but you gotta pull ahead and back up.
well, yeah, you're not supposed to be up there.
Yeah,
I wanna put my meal out, I didn't have any problem at all.
Oh,
You
yeah,
probably just picked it up and turned it around.
yeah.
I don't know. We go in through the gate and turn around inside and then come back out.
Well, I know, but if I wanna go up there, nose around a little bit, I'd like to turn around. Yeah, get a drink of water or something.
So we have 2 for bringing it back, so I'll bring it back. I don't know if it'll be at the next meeting, but
Okay.
for the next couple.
Yeah. Might go up again.
And overall.
Okay.
Board comment.
Okay.
Do you have public comment on that one?
Yeah.
Okay, none? So you know what you're doing?
I know what I'm doing.
Okay, because
Sometimes.
I got a little lost there, sorry.
I got a board comment.
Okay, go Davis.
Well, this is the time to bring it.
Okay, I would like a special meeting on all the employee issues, the time clock, and accountability of the staff time, and their qualifications, who's qualified to do what at that treatment plant, and,
So I missed your first one.
Employee
A
issues.
special meeting for employee issues?
yeah, be employee, well, basically, I want the time clock that we have there, and of the staff time, and the qualifications, who's licensed to do what down there? And about their time bank, how are they banking time?
Well,
You know, for, like if, they have to work an hour over or something, you know, during the day or something like that.
so all the employees operate under the personnel policy and/or the MOU.
Yeah,
So if anybody is working overtime, they have the ability to either collect that as overtime or collect it as comp time.
yeah.
So I'm not sure what your question is.
Well, I just kinda wanna keep track. Now, see, you're on salary, you should be able to work all the hours you want.
This is a good case, right?
All the hours he wants.
Oh, wait, you said all the ones I want?
Once, he said
All
word
the hours.
once.
Well, then I'm going home.
No.
So, yeah, I'm an exempt
Yeah.
employee, so I don't get paid overtime.
Yeah, I know. But
All the
anyway.
other employees get
Yeah.
paid according to
But
state law.
that,